My quilt is called Napa Valley with Red Barn, but the real inspiration for the quilt was the red barn itself. Red is my favorite color, and I was riding a bicycle on this particular lane in just north of the city of Napa, and came around a corner and looked to my right, and here was this incredibly red barn. It was in April of the year, so it was very lush, just new growth on the grapevines. And it just struck me. I said, this is it. I've been looking for a source, an idea and inspiration for my affinity quilt. And I said, you know, this is it. I lived in Napa when I was in high school and early college, and met my husband there of 43 years. And so it just all clicked together. And I came back to take a photograph, and it was a different time of the day. So the elevation of the sun was actually lower in the sky here, so that there were really no shadows cast, or very few, because the sunlight is coming directly past this tree. There's sun here, but everything in this barn is just as red as can be. Viewed other times during the day, it would not have even probably attracted my attention. So I came back the next day before I left town to go back home to where I live in Modesto, and at the same time of the morning, and took the shot. I went back more recently, a few weeks ago, and the vines have gotten so high. You see the stakes and the wires. They've gotten so high you can hardly see the barn. So I have to wait until the leaves are off the vines and off the trees to get a fall shot of this vineyard. But using a photograph has its own issues. People think, oh, you know, she did it from a photograph. No big deal. But it's a real big deal. It does give you some formatting and that, but I've never created a vineyard before. And so I started with this modeled chartreuse batik, which happened to have these little dirty areas in, which I didn't like at first. And then I realized that was most of the grapevines to the back. That's really all you could see of them. So that the sun is hitting right here where the chartreuse is the brightest. And then what do you do with this tree? It was not my idea to applique all these leaves. But it needed to be done. The focal point couldn't really be set as the barn without this tree. And it was after a class with Susan Brubaker Knapp, who actually shares this corner with me at a local retreat, that I learned about using paint on surfaces, and that helped me shade the batik I had for the mountain range so that it looked a little bit in the distance. You know, there's always things you can change about a composition, and there are colors that I would have done and shaded differently, but I was thrilled with this and real happy with how it turned out and when it was accepted. And it was actually the quilt that was used, the photograph of my quilt was used in the email that told the 40 people out of 70 that they were accepted. So that was an honor also. But thank you, Emma.